So you are one of the few hosts in this space who is not audience captured, relentlessly non-audience captured. You do not allow your audience to dictate the tone and point of view of your content. And so, from being at war with what some would call blue MAGA, you've lately, as we have now as well, been sparring with the original red MAGA flavor. So this was a tweet that caught my eye. I believe I quote tweeted this, or at the very least replied to it. When the left went full on Trump derangement syndrome, I lost a lot of followers for telling them they'd lost the plot and gone nuts. Now it's the other side. Kim, you don't get it. Kim, you've lost the plot. Kim, you couldn't be more wrong. Heard this all before, guys. Yes, so have we. Let your fear be your guide, I suppose, but it won't lead you anywhere good. Case in point here, you opine I'm not voting for Trump or Harris, but for a variety of reasons, I hope Trump wins. That was not good enough for Dr. Malibu. Then just fuck off. What's the point of announcing it if you're going to do nothing? Disgusted either way with people like you. How many little girls do you want trafficked and raped? See, real charmers, these guys. They raped repeatedly as they stream across the border. Why don't you just go snort done fentanyl thinking it's E? Repeal the 19th Amendment. Cat ladies don't care about the privilege of selecting leaders. And you reply, and this is another reason why I won't vote for your team. The red hats have gone full derangement syndrome. We have noticed this exact thing. Definitely there has been a major tonal shift to the point where you're absolutely right. In 2016, MAGA were mostly happy warriors. There was a joy, odd word to bring up now, about that movement. And now they are just as shrill, just as humorless, just as dogmatic, just as incurious as the liberals. I've noticed the exact same thing. My theory is that they really feel like this is it for the country, and it's win or we're doomed. What is your theory? Why have they become as insufferable as the shit lib counterparts?
For exactly the reason you just laid out. That's exactly it. When you get it in your mind that it's this now or never, that it's doom and gloom, that if Donald Trump wins, I mean, this is what happened with the Democrat derangement that they experienced was when they got Trump derangement syndrome was Trump is evil incarnate. He is going to destroy America. It won't be the same country. We won't have voting. We won't have rights. Nobody will have any choices and everything is going to be doom and gloom. And they really genuinely believed that. And it was just like what happened with COVID, right? We saw the fear take people over where they thought this thing is going to kill us. This is doom. This is the end, right? When people get into that mentality, they're willing to compromise a lot of their values, things that they otherwise stood for. We saw that happen with Democrats. Suddenly the pro free speech, they were always for live and let live. Everybody, let your freak flag fly, I guess, in a variety of different ways. Anybody could be different, and that's okay. Like everybody's different, including, conservatives or whatever, somewhat, but they, in their minds. So they turned into these authoritarians that said, no, if you have a different opinion than me, you're dangerous and we have to silence you because you're going to end up voting for Trump otherwise. And we don't want this idea in your mind because you're going to vote for a literal Hitler is what they were thinking in their minds. And if you remember, after 2016, there was that big, I believe in punching Nazis in the face, right? They would say that and they would, and they meant it. They meant like you should be able to go up to a MAGA hat wearing person and harass them and hit them and assault them, and it was terrible because they genuinely believed it was the end of the country, end of democracy. And that we saw that then for 4 years under COVID, but towards a different thing, towards a virus, right? And that caused everybody to, it caused what it caused. Right. And now we're seeing on the MAGA side, they believe now that the Democrats are evil incarnate. And it doesn't even make sense to me what they think is going to happen. When the guy talks about the sex trafficking of little girls, right? Or they'll talk about the trans movement. And I'm like, well, what does the president, so if Trump wins, what does he do about that? Did trafficking not happen when Trump was in office the first time around? It certainly did. So, and the trans movement, that is that's not a government-led movement. I mean, you could say, well, it's in the schools or whatever. That's actually in the individual. It's the individuals in the communities who have a certain set of morals and ethics that make those types of decisions. That's not government mandated from the top, right? That's how a community, that's it. Those are inner things that you're not going to change through regulation and politics. So I don't, but they really just genuinely think that it's the end of the world. And it's not helping that there are sane people also saying it. The people that have been the sane voices throughout the MAGA, derangement that Democrats had, sane voices through COVID are now not, they're driving a lot of this. It's the end of the republic. I mean, you've got guys, like Brett Weinstein, who I really like Brett. I agree with Brett on so much, but I think that pushing this idea that this is the end of our republic and we need to rescue the republic, and that type of narrative, I think, is poisoning it's poisonous to our society. The thing that made what made things so awful under Democrats is the fact that they had that mentality. That mentality drove them to censoring us, to coming after us, to demonizing us, calling us terrorists, right? It was that mentality that caused all of that. So it wasn't Democrat policies fundamentally at the core of the Democratic Party. Now, some of them will think that, oh, they're Marxists, so that's why. But really, it was the mentality of, we'll do anything to stop Trump. So if you're going to have this mentality, we'll do anything to stop Democrats and this liberal erosion of our society, you will go down that path. You will. I mean, you're just going to end up in an authoritarian space.
Yeah, I think that's extremely well said. We used to get on an almost daily basis in our YouTube comment section, because Russ and I are pretty squarely on the left, not subscribing to every piece of like left orthodoxy there is, but generally we're very, very comfortable saying we are leftists. And we used to get on an almost daily basis people in the YouTube comments saying, hey, I'm MAGA, I'm a Trump supporter, I'm a conservative, but I really appreciate you guys that you come at these issues in good faith and you're willing to call out your own side and you're willing to approach issues, with nuance and stuff. We used to get that almost all the time. Now we don't get it anymore. We hardly get that anymore, because now everybody who's MAGA, you're exactly right. They have formulated the same dynamic in their mind, that the other side is evil incarnate and it's crushed them at all costs. And that leads to a total breakdown in the discourse as a whole. So I thought that was perfectly said.
Because we've always expressed skepticism of a lot of woke ideology. Yeah. We brought in a lot of that audience critiquing gender theory and DEI and that kind of thing. But then you say, hey, maybe people aren't turning into cats or anything, and they think you're the enemy now because you're challenging some bit of dogma.
Please clap.